Would you like to minimize the risk of failure on your productive PI system when implementing changes? Then FIGAF Integration Regression Testing tool is something for you. IRT is a native PI/PO application for doing interface testing. So it's a simple way to do testing. So you're enabled to record messages from any productive system. You can then set up a test scenario on your development or test system. Then you'll be able to run the test based on the original message you have. And then you'll be able to verify if they're still giving the same result as you expect them to. A little about how IRT works. So the way it works is on your productive system, we call it agents. It could be either your development system or productive system, or if you're doing a migration, it would be your old PI system. There you would select a number of, or select an ICO you want to do recording on. And when you do that, we would add, or IRT would add modules in the beginning of the end of the processing. And then next up you would say, I want to record the next 5 messages. Then the next 5 messages that will be processed here would be saved in the modules on the GMS queue, and this GMS queue would then be emptied by the test system where you have IRT installed. Once you got all the messages, you're able to create a test case from it, and you can then run this test. So you would be able to select what are the ICO you want to run this test on now. We would send it in using the XI30 protocol. We would put in our modules, and if you have any modules you want, they would also be put into the communication channel. We would run your mapping, send it to whatever receiving system you have, and save the message for the comparison. So we would compare this message with this message, and hopefully they align. Otherwise you would get an error about what is the wrong with these things. You would then be able to specify what I should ignore on these elements. So a quick list of the features, quick recording of messages, recording on agent system run on your local development system. You're able to use the B2B add-on and the EDI separator if you have scenarios that are using it. Module and dynamic properties are validated. There's smart comparison of EDIFACT X12 text and XML, where you're able to ignore elements that you know would be changed. And it works both for synchronous and asynchronous messages. You can run batch jobs. So you can group a set of test cases together and then run them every night to see if there had been any changes on your test system. And then there's dual stack recording, so you would be able to record from an old system in your migration project. But let me show you how it works. So here we have the front page of IRT. So here we have our agents, and this is where we'll download test messages from. Test cases is where we have all our test cases are able to run them. Perform test gives a list of all the different tests that has been performed. And testing templates is the way you can group these messages together. So let's go and create a new recording. So we have this test here, and we want to do recording of it. So on our inbound message, we can select what type of message we're receiving on this communication channel. So we can select XML, text, EDIFACT, and X12. Next up is we want to define which ICO it should use for testing. So obviously if it's your local development system, as it is here, then it would be the same. But if you want to do it from your productive system or a migration, you might want to change the local ICO it should use for running this. You can use the B2B splitter if it needs to send the message in on a different system to be splitted. And then you have what are the message partner that we want to test this on. So if you know you have some specific messages, you can define an XPath in these that would fetch out data from the message and use that as message names. Or a partner, if you know that this employee of this system is relevant, then those would be relevant cases for it. And then how many messages do we want to record? So let's just start with this. And we can add modules to it. They have already been added. But this is how easy it is to add modules to a recording or an ICO. So we can see we now have received two messages received, and 2 messages outbound. This is message partner number 5. So we will create a test case using this local ICO. So we would open it. And now we can see that we have this local ICO. We can see the configuration here. So let me just ignore this element here. So here we are ignoring certain elements. Here it's Edifact. We can see it here. It could be XML. Then we would put in XPath to ignore certain elements of it. If we had multiple different messages in an interface where you had an interface that split these messages, you can also do sorting of these messages here. So we want to save this. And we can go back to our list. If we run it now, we get an error. We ran 2 tests, so we can download the report. So we got the report here. It says the BGM is okay, and DTM2 is different, so that's okay. So here we can see we can download our messages if we want that. And here we have a list of the different fields that were changed on this element. So on line 7 it was this, but we got this message, and then we could ignore this also, and then it would be okay. We can also view it in the web client, so we can see it here. We can see the difference here. So we get a graphical layout here showing what was the difference. If we want to look at a synchronous interface, then we have a scenario. This scenario here. And here we have a synchronous message that's sent in, and we'll be saving the messages that we received just before we send it to the receiving system, just after, and then before the clients get the synchronous message back. So that means one message would get to 3 outbound messages. So we can run this test. And we can view the results. We got some differences in these documents where someone had changed the mapping, hopefully. So it's easy to see what are the changes in this document. And we can then have them grouped into test cases that we're running at a certain period of time. So for instance, look at this one, the details here. So here we have a list of different ICOs that is on ICOs and test cases that we are running together every time this runs. I hope you like that demo. A little about why you want to use it, why you want to use IRT. So if you want to check everything works after you have applied a service pack, this is by far the easiest approach. After you have set it up, you can just run all test cases and you'd see that nothing has changed. You are able to check whenever you're doing a mapping change. So when you're changing mappings, you obviously don't want existing messages to fail. So in that case, it makes a lot of sense if you can just run this test to see had we changed anything here that we were not supposed to. You can run in migration project. It makes a lot of sense. You want to be able to document this to everybody involved. Hey, we did this test and it is working, so we shouldn't involve our partners in testing this. And then it reduces the risk in your project because you're able to test better in less effort. So you were able to get the reports as we saw. So what are the tests that are covered in this? So we're covering sender module, routing, mappings, receiver modules, dynamic properties, and synchronous messages. What we do not cover is the native communication. So if you have Java or outside of the Java stack, so if you're doing SOAP outside or IRC or IDOC, we don't cover those things in IRT. And then lookup values is not cached. So you would still need to be able to perform lookups because we're reusing your existing system. You can actually sign up on figaf.com/ERT to get a free trial of the application, so you can test it out and see how it works on your own system. I wanted to go through some of the questions that I normally get on ERT. So one of the things is what happens if figaf stops supporting the tool. We would upload the code to an escrow service that you'll be able to get the code and update the bug. So if figaf stopped being a company and is bankrupt, you would be able to get the code from this repository and maintain it yourself or find another supplier for it. There's a 20-year 20% maintenance fee on updates and support for the tool. So included in the price is the first year's maintenance, and after that you have to pay 20% of the maintenance fee. What are the tools we support? So we support 7.31, 7.4 and 7.5, both single and dual stack. So we're able to do recording on dual stack system, where we have the scenario where it's ABAP to an IDOC, to a Java adapter, or Java adapter to an ABAP system. Or actually we can also do Java to Java using sender-receiver agreements. So you would select the sender-receiver agreement you want to do recording on, and then what are the ICO you want to test this message on. And then you can send the message through. There's a small component you would install on your system, the small ICO that will enable you to fetch these messages through the IRC protocol of the ABAP-based system. I hope you want the free trial of ERT. You can get it at figaf.com/ERT. Or if you have any questions, please send them to dgr@figaf.com.